I went out and I decided I wanted to buy a Singer Futura sewing machine. I wanted an embroidery machine primarily, but I also wanted a decent sewing machine that would do quilting and things like that. And the Singer Futura is the one for you. Quilting wise, just normal sewing wise, it's amazing. It's got all of the different settings on here. You've got all your different types of stitching that you can do. This is it set up just in normal mode. It's quite sturdy, it's nice and big. This moves up and down to allow you to take different thicknesses through, so therefore it's nice and easy, nice machine, lovely. You can put your thread on here, or you can put your thread on here, depending on how you want to. If you want to spools, and you've got little caps to pop on the end. I don't want to spend my time talking about the actual sewing machine, because that's not what I'm here for. I want to talk about the embroidery part of it and some of the teething problems that I had along the way that's taken me a good few months to learn and iron out. Now then, you see here on this dial here, you've got an S, that's your normal sewing, and when you want to add the embroidery attachment you need to twirl it round so it's on the E. I'll come back to that in a minute because that's an important part of my learning process. You can remove this bar here. Inside of here it's lovely because you can pop all your little bits and pieces, and they're all by hand. And then you need to attach the embroidery part. It's a hefty piece of machinery, and as you can see, it takes up a lot of room on your table. So you're going to need to have space. I didn't quite realise how big it was when I bought it. That isn't my complaint though. I have no complaint on that score. You pop it in here and you have to really make sure it's home. One of my things I learned, pretty obvious, but make sure it's really gone home into that click. Can you hear it click? Because if it hasn't, this won't start up and you're not ready to embroider. So now we've got it on E, ready to embroider. This bar across here is moved, and then we need to think about the thread. Please don't scrimp money or try and save money on thread. Buy embroidery thread. This one I've got here is Robertson Anton. I like it, but again I'm going to come back to that in a moment. I find it works best if it's working off of here, off of this top spool. The embroidery machine comes with two hoops. You've got this one here, the small hoop, and you've got this bar here, and this bar it goes into this part here. This undoes, and then you clamp your material and your stabiliser in. There's a long bit in the book that comes with it, talking about different stabilisers and the importance of them. I call it backing, it's interfacing, whatever you want to call it. But it's basically to make the fabric stable. And you've got different, as you probably know, you've got different thicknesses of stabiliser. If you don't have the correct stabiliser, as I found out when I was doing this sort of thing happens. So you're halfway through a project, you've gone out and bought your lovely bib, and you've got halfway through, and then you've got a whacking great big hole in the middle of it because it's it's nested underneath. And I realised, although I felt this was quite thick enough, and I pulled it really tight across the hoop, this hoop here, because it's a jersey and it's bouncy, and I'd even considered the needle. I changed the needle because there's a big thing in there about the needle. So the point I'm making is make sure you have the right needle with the right fabric and the right stabiliser and the correct thread. Have embroidery thread, otherwise it just continues to snap as it goes through. Here I've got the large hoop, and this you have to, again, you've got a top which goes on the top, and this clips in here. So on here I'm going to show you how I pop it in. You put that in. You've probably got loads of things on the internet showing all these little bits, and they're all different, they're all good, and it's a very, very fiddly process. So you have to make sure this part's down, the top's down, otherwise if you're doing it that way it's not going to hold it in place. They're obvious things, but when you're completely new to embroidery, I've been sewing for years, but embroidery machines was a complete new ball game for me. So I've really learnt the hard way with this. So you pop it in there, you see it's going nice and tight. Okay, and you've got this here to do up. As you're doing it up, you pull it really tight, so you've got no slackness. You're pulling it really through. So take your time over this. This is quite an important part. I've actually now settled on doing things on nice cotton linen because I know it's going to finish nicely. I've gone for a nice heavy duty iron-on stabiliser. It suits me. Over here I did finally get to grips with some terry jersey, and I actually created this amazing teddy bear. I was ever so pleased with it. Right at the last minute, I'm right on the end of the teddy bear up here. When I came back into the room, it had continued stitching, but part of the ear was missing. So unfortunately I had a big hole, so I put a hat on. So I've cheated basically, but it's so frustrating when you get near the end of a project, the machine's clicking away and you think it's working, but actually it hasn't actually embroidered some of the part. Another example of it letting me down, I went out of the room, I'd got it all threaded through. You can see here it's all very messy. It should be like this. Again, I've had to cheat and finish it off myself by hand because the machine carried on stitching. And what is so frustrating, when it carries on stitching, you hear it clunking away in the other room, you think, oh, it's working, that's good, I'll go back in a minute. You shouldn't need to have to sit and watch it all of the time. It's working, you've set it up, you've checked your stabiliser, it's all going beautifully, it's clunking away. You go back in the room, oh yeah, it's great, it's going all right, but there's no thread, the thread's snapped. So it's done a whole chunk of sewing without any thread attached. And talk about frustrating, it just makes you just want to chuck the thing out the window. However, all I'm saying is if you're going to do this and go embark on the adventure, it's great fun, but make sure that you know, if you're going to use stretchy material, just be prepared for a few mishaps along the way. I'm going to show you now how we have to attach this to the embroidery unit. But first of all, we have to remove the foot that is on there for ordinary sewing. And it's a shame, again, there's not an easier way of doing this because you have to get out the foot, you have to find your screwdriver, you have to unscrew it all, you have to put the foot on, and then you have to screw it all back together. I don't know, maybe there is an easier way, maybe other machines have an easier way, but I have found this part quite frustrating. Beside here there's a screw, so you need to undo your screw. You've seen quite easily that that's dropped off. That's straightforward enough. But you have to unscrew it because this part, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can, but I can't get that on there without completely unscrewing it. So it's a bit of a nightmare. So you pop that up to its full height. It's so fiddly, I'm sure I'll never do it even now. You have to get this lever, this one on here, and then this lever over there. I've managed it. That lever goes over the top of there, and then you're ready. Left-handed, you see, that's the other awkward thing for us right-handed people. You've got to get that screw back in there and sew it, screw it up. Okay. Now sometimes what you need to do is move the needle up and down, because when that's up there it's hard to get it, and move that back down then, and then this, there's no pressure on this, and you can line this up and you can screw it up. But do remember to pop it back up before you fit the embroidery hoop. I'm going to show you fitting the small hoop because I had problems with my small hoop and had to actually send the first machine back because this hoop wouldn't click on. So I had a bad start with the whole experience of embroidery. So imagine that that's got some fabric in. Can you see what is happening here? As I'm doing this, it's hitting that bar there. Can you see that? You almost need to be ambidextrous. You've got to lift that. I don't know if you can get under there and see that little bit of grey there. You have to lift that up so you can click it in. Make sure it clicks home. To release it, pull that forward, and you're doing the reverse. Alright, so I'm actually now going to attach the large hoop because this is what I'm going to be doing this afternoon. So this is a little bit easier because I can push it through first. So I don't feel like I need 4 pairs of hands to do it. Listen for the click. There you are. Now, the other downside to this machine is that you can see here, because I've taken the hoop off, my computer program is saying I need to attach the right hoop. That will have mucked it up completely. So therefore, it will all need to be reset. The other downside to this machine is that you have to have the computer lead. Right, it's just a normal USB. It goes into the side of the machine. All of that's straightforward. You don't need me to tell you all of that. It's quite straightforward. But as soon as you turn the machine off, if you think, oh, I'll save power, you get this, you need to connect. So you click it on, okay, and the whole machine is doing its jiggery-pokery and moving all around. But it is frustrating. Again, they're little things. As long as you remember the order to do everything in, you'll be absolutely fine. And then you might want to go to their design library. It's not huge, it's not great. You've got a design library. These all come with the machine. I'm not going to spend ages on that because there's a lot on the net already showing you all this sort of thing. I've downloaded a couple of items off the net. They're great. They have worked. But again, it's all down to the fabric you use and the size. Size of hoop is large for a small hoop. There's quite a few different teddy bears. You'll recognise that one there. It was the one I was using on that earlier design. So again, they're all there for you to see and play around with. What I want to do is to create some lettering. You'd expect there wouldn't be very much variety because they want you to buy their graphics package, which is fair enough. I do get that, but it is a shame there is so few fonts there. But I'm just going to choose Courier. You pop in here and you type in a lovely, and then I'm going to come underneath boy. Alright, I'm doing this as though someone's given birth to a boy. Centering, it's a bit like any word package. Here, you can move it around on your wherever you want to locate it on your material, which is handy. Downside, I think that's where I want it. You click outside, off it's gone. Oh, I can't alter it. There's nothing I can do now to get back in there. There is a shortcut called T, which means that you can highlight that and move it around, but hang on, I can't change the script. I can't make it different. I can drag it out, make it bigger, but you see what's happened as soon as I've clicked elsewhere, it's gone off. It's so frustrating, but I can make it bigger, fair enough, but I can't change the font now. As soon as I undo, obviously it's like any program, it just undoes the last ones. But I have to go back to create the letter to start all over again if I wanted to change the fonts. Frustrating, not the end of the world. I will show you some of the things it's done. Okay, and they are fabulous. I'm well pleased with them. I've done this one here, a special boy. I've done this one here, obviously a special girl. And then I've done this one, just with love. So I'm very pleased, and I've got all the different fonts here showing what they can do, all the different ones, the styles. So they are lovely, it is good, it is limited, but if you like it and you're getting on with it, then you might want to buy the graphics package. The problem I had, the biggest problem, my nightmare, and when I got in touch with the company I bought it off of, I was so frustrated because they said it was because I was using cheap embroidery thread. This is the thread they recommend on here. When you go into a design, it tells you, if you say just pick this one out for now, it doesn't actually matter. And then you get your colours up on the palette on the side. It tells you what colours that you can have. So when you go to those colours, right, sorry about that, I couldn't find the tools to say what colours. If you go up here, it's stitch colours, and then you'll see here, I went out and bought Robinson Anton thread. Not cheap, that's fine. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a few nice things and have some fun. You've got all of these other ones that you can buy. But when I got in touch with the company and I said my problem was every time I tried to embroider, my thread snapped, I was told I'll only ever use Madeira, which is frustrating. It should only have that on there, but maybe that was someone else's personal choice, I don't know. Just little things that have really niggled with the machine that I think I needed to be ironed out. Here, down here in this bottom thing, you've got the different layers. So you've got this, and you're gonna, if you want to send it, that's your first block, your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth. You simply change your colours when you get to those. I think all of that is, I say, that is all quite straightforward and works beautifully. The problem is if the thread snaps and it carries on stitching, you're going to have a great big hole in some part of your design. Okay, right, the bobbin, before I've taken the hoop off because I wanted to show you the bobbin, always make sure you've got a full up bobbin, that pops on there. To do the bobbin, you just wind it round here. You see that, alright? It does show you on the top of there and back again. And then pop that through the hole. This is the fiddly part, which when someone's watching you is hard to do. Pop that on there. Okay, and then move that across, hold that tight, and off she goes. I'm just going to do this because the cat won't hold on. These reels are quite big, so I'm just going to fill that up. Okay, so you've got a full up bobbin. I always use my thread, my good quality thread. They do say you can get thread for the bobbin, but after all the bad experiences I've had with the thread snapping, there's no way that I'm going to actually risk having cheap thread. So you pop that one in there, you wind it back through, you click it through there, and then you pop your case back on. That's all quite straightforward. There's a little dial there that shows you what you're doing, and then you can thread your embroidery, your thread all the way round. Just goes round the back of here, down through there. Make sure you get it around that little lever there. Then if you pop that up there, it's got a fabulous little self-threading. Take it around the back. Oh, I can't get to it. I'm trying not to get in the way of the camera. Pop it through there, and your needle has been thread. So we're just ready to pick up the bobbin thread, pop the attachment back on, and start our sewing. You'll notice I said to you just now, have it on E. Well, I have learned by a bit of experience, if I have it just below there, so it's just slightly off. And I did read this somewhere on one of the things on the internet that another lady had done the same thing. It does seem to stop the thread from snapping. I don't know why. No, well, I do know why. It's obviously too tight. The tension's too tight. What I must say is I tried to go on the forum, and the link to the forum was down. There was no such link. The web page didn't exist. I tried to email Singer directly, and I came up with the UK, and I tried to email, and all the email information, it wouldn't take it, and I tried to submit and it wouldn't have it. So unfortunately, all of the things, all these little niggly questions you want to ask someone, you can't actually get hold of Singer. There's no blog. They've got some stuff on there about the actual sewing machine, but nothing about the Futura to help you with these silly things, because it's such a fabulous machine, but if you can't get the tension right, or the cotton keeps snapping, it's very frustrating. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send my special baby to the machine. I'm going to click on trace there. It's now will have gone over to the machine. I click start, and it will trace out where that design will go. Yeah, that's where I want it to be. That's great. Okay, I'm going to click the bar down, ready to sew. That's just like any sewing project. And then I'm going to transmit to the machine. No, I don't want to complete the partially sewing. That's because something I was trying earlier on. Going to send the block across. It's gone. There's your block down there, and then you just push start, and it does the middle bit, and that's exactly what's happened. That is exactly my problem. Having put in really expensive thread, I know this is the right, and I've done 4 or 5 of these, the thread's gone. Now there you are, exactly. And then you get this breakage of thread is detected. So now you have to abort everything. If you've gone further than just 3 or 4 little stitches, you've ruined your whole work. Okay, what I've got to do now is exit the machine. You can see that down there in that corner. I've exited, and it said, do I want to end this current transmission? Yes, because if you don't, you're going to end up with that carrying on where you left off. And these are all the little niggles that make it really hard to complete any design. Okay, I've sent the block. I've sent the block again. I'm now going to push start. Let's see if we're going to be lucky this time. Yes, it's working. don't understand that. That is just, I'm obviously not getting the hang of this at all. I've used these threads over and over again. I've used the tensions correct. I've changed the E up here. I've done everything the same. This is the same materials I've used, the same backing, and it broke. The thread broke just now. Now it's sewing. There we are. There he is, the Singer Futura. It's very noisy. You can imagine going off into the other room and getting on with some work, thinking, oh, I can hear it clicking away, to come in and find the thread's broken halfway through your project and you've ruined yet another piece of material. I've ruined a skirt, I've ruined various baby items, but that's neither here nor there. I'm sure I will get the hang of it. Cracking machine, but I think there's a few things need ironing out first. Thank you for watching.